Welcome to the Inside Nutley Podcast Special Edition. I'm your host, Tom Greco. Today we are joined by Public Safety Commissioner Alphonse Petracco, who's going to give us an update on public safety in the Township of Nutley. Welcome, Commissioner.
How are you today, Tom?
I remember we got together a couple years ago and we talked about some of the public safety concerns in our town. So it's about time for us to catch up, I think, and let's begin with the car and house break-ins plaguing the entire state. While this isn't unique to Nutley, when it affects our town, people want answers. Could you elaborate on the issue?
Sure. And Tom, before we get started on the car break-ins, on the scams that are going on through the banking and the phone calls, I just want to assure all the Nutley residents that I am very committed to making sure all of you are safe, from our elderly to our children. I want to thank the Nutley Police Department, our EMTs, our fire department. These guys are on the job. Even though the rules are all changing, especially in the state of New Jersey, we are committed to keeping our people safe here in Nutley, and we work tirelessly. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, holidays, all of it. We're here, and people who know me, I am a very competitive person, and I could assure you that I've been even in my car driving these side streets at night, dealing with car break-ins and things like that. Okay, so with that being said, I just want to talk about the car break-ins and these house break-ins. I also want to say that this is happening all over the state, probably all across America. We are doing everything in our power to prevent it. Unfortunately, with the new bail reform, that we lock these juveniles up. The way the laws work now, they're out in a few hours. They receive an ankle bracelet, and then before you know it, the next night they're back on the street again, doing the same thing. And I just want to touch on this, is that sooner or later, and I urge all our Nutley residents, and I have a lot of friends in town that I grew up with, and they're rough people and tough guys, as we know. Please don't engage with one of these people. But what I'm trying to tell our lawmakers now, this is a tragedy waiting to happen on both sides. The person that they break into their house, God forbid if there's an altercation, and could you imagine her in a 15, 16-year-old kid, because that's who's committing these crimes. So I really am urging all of you to write to your legislators and please, tell them that this could be a tragic event. It's, in my opinion, it's just a matter of time before one of these kids walk in the house looking to rob car keys, and there's an altercation, and the last thing we want to see is one of our residents getting hurt, or a poor juvenile that has lost his way or her way to a certain degree. So please help us help you and write those letters. And another thing to this, be spot on what we could do to eliminate some of this. Number one, if you see something, say something. You see something strange in your neighborhood. Since I've been sitting in the seat for 20 years, somebody saw somebody in a winter coat walking down the street with a suitcase, and the house got robbed in their neighborhood, and then after the detectives go out and we do our follow-up, what do a lot of people say? Oh, you know what, I thought that was out of the ordinary, but I didn't want to call the police department. My first question always is, why not? We didn't want to bother anybody. I could assure you that it's very important in today's day and age to partner with our police department. You're another set of eyes. If you do all the people in Nutley, that's a lot of people. If you see something that turns out to be nothing, let's laugh about it together rather than having another incident in town.
Do you think doorbell cameras are a deterrent?
I do think that doorbell cameras are helpful to the police department. What we're seeing in the police department at this time is that most of them, again, being juveniles, they are masking up, they have hoodies up, so they are covering up, and they are very, very brazen doing these crimes. So in other places of the police department or other investigations, sometimes we get a license plate. So yes, are the doorbell cameras important? I think that should be on every house. They've helped us with our investigations in the police department tremendously.
I know last time we talked, bail reform laws in the state was a very, very big concern for you. Do you want to touch on that a little bit?
Sure. I think that the bail reform that's been put in place in New Jersey is really causing a lot of issues with policing, with quality of life issues in Nutley here and for quite frankly all across the state. I call it the catch and release, like when you go fishing, you catch a fish and you release it. Catching them, when they commit these crimes, and before you know it, they're right out of jail. So again, I urge everybody to contact their legislators and please, change these laws, because without laws, there's lawlessness, and these are all quality of life issues in Nutley. Thank God we don't have the serious crimes here, the armed robberies, the homicides. I mean, Nutley is a safe town. I call these more quality of life issues, and until the bail reform is changed, why wouldn't somebody with bad intentions keep doing what they're doing? Because it's profitable. They steal these cars. A lot of these cars are being shipped overseas where they're getting top dollar for them. And unfortunately, the bad guys know what the bail reform is too and what these new laws are. And that's why when there's no punishment for a crime, it's hindering a lot of our communities.
Another topic I want to touch on is solicitors. I don't think anything annoys me more than that. I mean, I know that we have a lot of policies in place that handle solicitors that come to town, but the department has taken additional steps to address this. You want to tell us about that?
So we have what is our no-knock sticker for solicitation. I urge everyone who doesn't want to put up with somebody knocking on their door, it's sticking to my finger because you stick it right to the window. And again, it's another deterrent. In today's times, me personally, I do have one of these. I don't want people knocking on my door. There's a process at the police department when people are coming into our town to solicit business. They have to register in the police department. They also wear an ID. So if you choose not to get a no-knock on your door, there is a list. Make sure that whoever's knocking on your door has their identification. Make sure the Nutley Police emblem is on there. And again, I'm very big on, the way things are happening across the state right now. The less people that are strangers that you let to your door, I think the better off you are. So, my parents had one on their door. All my family members have them. If there's something so important that you need, I mean, everything's at our fingertips on the computer now, on the internet. I would recommend that before having people knock on your door.
I know over the last few years, maybe particularly after COVID, there's been a lot of talk in town about these crazy vehicles going up and down Washington Avenue on the weekends and making so much noise and really kind of terrorizing the town. It made me think of a movie from the 50s that I used to watch on the Late Late Show. It's called Hot Rods from Hell. And these kids used to go up and down this township in these hot rods, these 50s greasers and hot rods, and they terrorized the town. And this kind of reminds me of that with the noise. I don't really live that close and I hear it. It's crazy. Is there anything we can do about that?
Well, that's a great question, and this is another reason why we're actually doing this podcast, because if you think that you've seen it and it aggravates you, you should be sitting in my seat and know how much it aggravates myself. Unfortunately, in the state of New Jersey, through the Attorney General office and their guidelines, what is happening in policing is they really have put handcuffs on the police, and to me, it disgusts me. We are not allowed to chase these vehicles. If a cop turns on their lights and these 500 or 200 or 100 quads going down Washington Avenue decide to take off, it is the Attorney General guidelines rules not to be able to chase them. And again, we don't want anybody getting hurt. Most of the times it is kids. But again, if they don't start changing these rules, these are all quality of life issues that, again, I've been here a long time. I can't believe the way the rules are, that cops can't do this, they can't do that. Before you know it, I mean, what are they going to be able to do? Nothing. And the more that the Attorney General's office put the handcuffs on policing, the more you're going to have these quality of life issues. So, again, don't think that I am or the Nutley Police Department are turning a blind eye to this. It is appalling to me. And again, the people that are committing these crimes, which I guess in the Attorney General guidelines, they don't consider it a crime anymore. Part of the big problem with the big picture is that they know that nobody's going to chase them. So how embarrassing is it to watch a cop sit there and just be able to observe them passing through our town. And as we get on the radio, yeah, let them go, let them just drive through the town, and that police officer can't do anything. Really a shame where this is going. So I'm hopeful that the rules are going to change in the future, but at this point, we are not allowed to chase them. And the crimes that they're committing by rolling through our towns, all these quads and motorcycles, are driving up on the sidewalks, covering both lanes on Washington Ave, mostly where they do it, traveling south and north, and taking up all four lanes and going up and down the sidewalk. Unfortunately, these are motor vehicle issues where a cop could issue a ticket for that. So what the Attorney General guidelines are saying today to us, for motor vehicle issues, we're not allowed to chase, and that's part of the problem. And again, the bad guys know it, and that's why we're in the position we are in. Again, another quality of life issue. And I think that what the bigger picture in the state of New Jersey has to be is that, these petty crimes, they affect people's quality of life. And, as we all know, it's not a cheap state to live in. And, I think quality of life issues are very important. And in my opinion, living in Nutley my whole life, it starts with the quality of life issues, and that's when, the other stuff starts rolling into your town. So again, we're committed in our Nutley Police Department to, be aggressive when we can, and, when the state stops us, these are part of the new rules in 2025, and it's been probably happening since, 2018, as I can remember. So I'm hopeful that it's going to change in the future, because it's not working. The system is broken.
I know you wanted to talk about these grandma scams and similar schemes that exploit older or less aware individuals. Can you discuss these issues and elaborate on the measures your department is taking to prevent them and also educate the public so they don't become victims?
Sure, Tom. The grandma scam, again, is probably the biggest one out there, where unfortunately these people, like, you go to work 8 hours or more a day, they work at scamming people, and they're very good at it. They're very convincing. Actually, a little embarrassing, my own father, who, God rest his soul, passed away over the summer, I would tell him, Dad, stay off the computer, don't answer emails, don't open up text messages. And as convincing as these scammers are, they got my father for $500. How embarrassing being in my position. But with my dad, it was something like they were going to turn off the computer, and they wind up, he panicked, and he's like, I need my computer. So, but please, if my father could fall for it, I know how easy it is for somebody else to fall. Don't fall for it. So the grandma scam is basically, I'm sure many people have heard of it, is where they call you up, little Johnny, your grandson is in Mexico. Somehow they find out that they are on vacation in Mexico, and they are, and they say very convincingly, oh, I'm an American, I'm here to help, the American kids. It's very corrupt in Mexico. Please, I'm looking out for him. Your grandson's in a very damp cell. He's got a little cold, and, but if you give me money that I could give to a judge, they'll let him out, but he's in a very bad environment right now. And Grandma's like, well, because a lot of people have heard us, screaming about these scams or on the internet. And Grandma's like, I think I've heard about this. If you want me to send you money, I want to talk to my, grandson, little Johnny. And they're like, okay, we can only let you talk to him for a minute. He does have a cold. And the kid gets on the phone, oh, Grandma, with a horsey voice, please send the money. And then they take the phone out of his hand. And again, then Grandma, what does she do? Being a good grandmother or grandfather, they write the check. And then before you know it, they afterwards, when they figure it out that, little Johnny wasn't in Mexico, or, he is, but he's not in any trouble, they call the police department. And by that time, folks, the money's overseas somewhere. And 99.9% of the time, you're not getting your money back. So please, I've told my own parents when they were alive, if you don't recognize the number, don't pick it up. If it's something really important, they'll contact you. The financial institutions scams, a lot of times they are getting their, the number of a bank on your caller ID. So if you bank would say Valley National Bank, you get a phone, oh, it's Valley National Bank, that's my phone, and they'll say, oh, your account's overdrawn, and how I know this, it's happened to me, your bank account's overdrawn, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm a police commissioner, I should know better than to fall for something like this, but man, they're sounding like they really know what they're talking about, and it said Valley National Bank on my phone, so what happens is you're like, okay, what's the problem? Oh, your account's overdrawn, if you want to, do a check by mail to get it in there, and that's where the scam takes place, and that's how they get all your banking information. And again, they're so convincing that, well, even myself, I'm on the phone, I'm like, let me make sure I made that deposit, and I do it, and, even in my position, I'll contact the Nutley Police Department, give it to our detectives, I give them a phone number, it comes back to somewhere overseas, nobody picks it up, and again, something that's not, we're not even able to prosecute anybody because there is nobody there. Another scam is with these text messages, and this is fairly new, where they say it's your bank, it's the Nutley Police Department either, that's how again on your phone ID, it comes up on your caller ID. Once you open that text message, especially if it's regarding banking, it now gives them the ability to get all your banking information, especially if you bank online. Again, folks, you don't recognize the number, or even if you do in this case, so say it's, again, Valley National Bank, I would not open up the text. What you do is you call Valley National Bank up and you say, look, I just got this text message. Is it you guys calling me? And they're going to say, no, they aren't, because they really don't send text messages. Even we've seen an uptick with them getting to the Nutley Police Department's phone number, and what they'll say to you is, oh, you have an overdue ticket or some kind of fine, and people are like, okay, let me just put it to bed. How much is it? Oh, it's a parking ticket. It's $55. Well, they're not looking for the $55. Once you give them the banking information, the problem that you're going to now have is now they have your banking information, and they don't take $55 out, they take all your money out. So again, these are part of the scams. Please be aware of them. If you have any questions, please contact the Nutley Police Department. If you have an odd number on your phone, if somebody in your neighborhood is soliciting and you don't feel comfortable, please again call the Nutley Police Department. You're not bothering us.
Okay, Commissioner, we've talked about a lot of things, a lot of warnings, a lot of things to raise awareness about our township. But I still want to emphasize that Nutley is a fantastic town. You and I have lived here all our lives, and I know we're not going anywhere. Everything we do, but especially, I should say everything you do, especially with your department, is aimed at making the town even better and keeping it safe.
Tommy, I really think that Nutley is the best place in the world for older viewers out there and people who are my age group, a little older, maybe a little younger. From when we're kids, what do we always say? Nutley is the center of the universe. It's our little green ball. I love it here. I know people tell me don't ever say never. I will never leave this town. This is where I was born, and this is where someday I plan on checking out. But at any rate, the things I love most about the Nutley is very simple. It's the people. Whenever somebody's in need, Nutley people step up. I love the Nutley Oval. I love the shops that hopefully in the future we're going to have more shops on Franklin Ave, and we're going to get even to do better. I think it's a very safe community. I love the parks. I think all the commissioners do a great job in their departments as well. I'm hoping and I see improvement in the schools. I do have one son left in the school system that's a senior. He has had a really good experience in Nutley High School. He'll be off to college next year. And, I think Nutley's really is really going in the right direction for the future. And again, it's our little green ball. And, I simply love it here. A lot of my friends would move out of town, and they would move to Morris County, Bergen County, and I would get those phone calls a year or two later saying, man, I miss Nutley, Al. It's not the same, and I don't know what it is here with that magnet that pulls us back, but I have to tell you, a lot of them have come back, to their home where they were raised, And it's just really heartfelt for me because as much as I love it, I know a lot of people that have moved out and come back. It just shows you that, Nutley is really a special place, to raise a family, to be raised, and, where we're going in the future.
Commissioner Petracco, as always, thank you for what you do, and thanks for being on the Inside Nutley Special Edition.
Tom, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.